Hello, thank you for stopping by. My name is Becky and this is Bex Reads, and today I am going to be sharing with you some LGBT plus recommendations. I reached out to some of my lovely Booktube friends and asked them to send me a clip sharing 1 to 3 of their favorite books featuring an LGBT plus main character. So that's what we're sharing with today because it is Pride Month. Let's jump into the recommendations and you will see me at the end where I give my recommendation.
Hi, I'm Baron from the Book Baron, and I have a couple of sapphic romance recommendations for you. Because my books tend to be a little bit on the darker side, I am going to start off with the lighter one, which is The Headmistress by Melina Mackay. So this is a more recent read, and it's definitely got some darker elements, but overall it's a lot lighter than the other one I have for you. So this is about Sam, and Sam is a school teacher at this very formerly prestigious private school. She ends up going into the city for a work conference, and she has this one-night stand, and she can't stop thinking about it. She cannot stop thinking about this woman because she felt picked, she felt chosen. It was a hot night. But as much as she loves reliving those moments, she's got some bigger problems going on right now. The school that she works at is a formerly prestigious school. It's kind of on the outs. They're not really the top for academics or sports anymore, so they're really losing that prestige. And the board of directors is hoping to revamp by pushing it in a more conservative direction and getting back to its religious roots. So Sam doesn't exactly feel comfortable being out given this environment and also just the isolated nature of the school. It is on an island, so everyone's in everyone's business, but the board of directors, unbeknownst to everyone else, ends up bringing in an industry heavyweight named Magdalena, and she shows up on site and starts by firing everyone. But Sam realizes that this is the gal that she had the one-night stand with. So there's even more going on, including a mystery. Someone's trying to murder Magdalena or maybe Sam because there is this issue of the power imbalance, there's the age gap, but also both of these women are believed to be straight. So there's little ways that they love to like show up in each other's lives. And it builds and builds on all these little moments and also some very steamy flashbacks. So next up, definitely check triggers before diving into this one. It's The Madhouse by Liza James. This one is a Lizzie Borden retelling. So on its face already, I think you know, it's gonna be a little bit dark and it's gonna be a lot a bit unhinged. Basically, we have Cedar and Fee. They are stepsisters and they grew up in a cult together. Now, Cedar was able to escape, thank goodness, at around the age of 16, and she was able to live life on the outside and kind of deconstruct a lot of the beliefs that this cult had. She always looked for Fee, but she had been really unsuccessful and had kind of given up hope until one day she ends up finding Fee. And she's been institutionalized because she murdered their parents with an axe. And she's just about ready to be released. So now, Cedar's job is to help her adapt to the outside, but Fee's mind is very much still in line with the cult, so there's a lot of deconstructing that they need to do. On top of that, we start developing some feelings for one another. This one is so fun because I don't know what it is about Liza James, but she has this way of writing the romances in a way that they almost have their own atmosphere. And there's like this undeniable connection where even when they're fighting or frustrated with one another, they still seem to gravitate towards each other and want to be in each other's orbit. So those are my 2 recommendations for books that have LGBT characters that I love.
Hello everyone, and hi Becky. Thank you so much for including me in this collaboration video around Pride Month. My name is Diana and my channel is Diana and the Book Hunt. I actually have so many books that I could recommend to you that feature queer representation or LGBT plus characters, but I've chosen 2 that are really my favorites of this year so far. The first one being Role Playing by Kathy Yardley. This one is not only a favorite of mine because of the queer representation, but because also it features a slow burn relationship, which is one of my favorite kinds of relationships, and also a relationship between a hero and heroine who are in their late 40s to start of 50s. That demographic group, in my opinion, is underrepresented in the romance community, so I really hope that we'll get more of these kinds of stories. In this story, we've got a hero and heroine who live in the same small town, but they don't know each other in real life. They actually meet online because of this gaming community that they have, and they forge a friendship first when they're online, and then once they meet in real life, they discover that they definitely have chemistry together. And the hero in his past has had a very difficult time because he is queer and he's kind of struggling with his identity. He doesn't really know how to label himself and whether there is a label that befits him best. And the heroine helps him out with that. She really is asking him the appropriate questions and is very delicate with his past and his nature and the way that he wants to express himself. And that is what I really appreciated within this book, because the representation is really taken care of with the most sensibility and the most sensitiveness. So I really love this story. I gave it 5 stars, and I really hope that if you haven't picked it up yet, you're going to pick it up and you're going to love it as much as I did. And then the next book that I'm going to recommend is a recent read of mine. It's a latest release of Alison Cochran's. This one is Here We Go Again. It's a sapphic romance between 2 wonderful ladies who used to be childhood friends, but when they were teenagers, they became rivals. Something happened between them that kind of made them drift apart. And then in present times, they live in the same small town again, where they're both teachers at the same high school, but they don't really like each other. They're really still rivals of each other. And what connects them to each other is that they still have a very loving and warm relationship to their high school teacher, who currently is going through cancer treatments, and he has a wish that he wants to fulfill for them to fulfill together with him, and that is to go on a road trip. They reluctantly decide to go for it, even though they can't stand each other. And in the meantime, once they're on this road trip, a lot of truths come to the light, and they start to really connect again and communicate better than they did when they were teenagers. So this was a really great kind of romance that featured a lot of things that were just splendidly done. We've got a rivals to lovers, we've got a summary kind of romance. So if you're in the mood for a summary kind of romance, this one is definitely one that you're going to enjoy. The road trip aspect is really well done. The found family aspect, because of the teacher, who essentially is very much a father figure for at least one of the characters. And then also the other characters who get introduced throughout this road trip as well. It's just such a great adventure to go on together with the characters, and also their relationship is really well done in my opinion. So yeah, I really highly enjoyed this one, and you should definitely check it out if you haven't picked it up yet. Becky, thank you again for including me in this collaboration video, and I can't wait to see the other recommendations as well. See ya.
Hi everyone, it's Kristin from Kristin Craves Books, and you know, when Becky, the queen of collabs, asked me to contribute to something, I am going to jump at the chance to do that. Especially with the topic of this video, I had so many options. She said I could recommend between 1 and 3 books, so I went with 3, of course. I decided to do 2 romances and 1 fantasy, so I'll be quick with it. The first one is one of my favorite romances of all time, one of my favorite romance authors, Anita Kelly, and this is my favorite by them. We meet Alexi and Ben as they are hiking the Pacific Crest Trail separately, but they keep running into each other and they have a connection, and we just see them form this romance over the course of this trail and at all the pit stops and stuff, and I thought it was absolutely adorable. I love their connection, their support for one another. Highly recommend it, underrated. I've been talking about this other romance on my channel quite a bit lately, even though I read it a couple years ago. I just think it needs more attention, and it's Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding. Obviously, we follow Devon and Chris, and this is a sapphic romance. They go on a reality TV show where the whole point is to convince your family that you are marrying somebody you just met. You have to go through all the planning of the wedding and everything, and then if you get to the altar and nobody objects, you win the money. So obviously they have a real true connection, and I thought it was brilliant, and I love this author, and I just thought that was a genius concept. So it's fake dating as well, and it's one of my favorites. And one that I read recently, it is fantasy, but I would say it's lighter on the fantasy, is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. S.T. Gibson, the author of Diary of Blood. This is one I don't think will be for everybody, but you'll know if it's for you. And we're following 3 characters who are all part of like the occult. There's a secret society in this one. David is really powerful and he can speak to the dead, but he thinks he's being possessed by a demon. So he seeks the help of his ex-boyfriend Reese, who doesn't have powers himself, but is really invested in it and is part of the secret society. And Reese's wife also gets involved, and the 3 of them end up having this connection, and we see all of the different relationships in this like throuple and how they really truly come to deeply care about each other, even though David and Reese have a difficult past, and we see why that all comes up. And I just think that S.T. Gibson is amazing at writing characters and the complicated dynamics between humans, and how strong your bonds can be with people, and how you can form really deep connections with different people in your life and how they mean different things to you. And I just thought it was amazing, and I love her so much. So I could have gone on and on, but I'll stop here. Thanks again to Becky for asking me to participate in this.
Hey, my name is April from Happily Ever April, and my recommendation is The Stars Too Fondly by Emily Hamilton. This is actually a book that I'm reading right now and I'm absolutely loving. This is a sapphic rom-com in space. Cleo and her friends accidentally steal a spaceship with a doomed past, and they are on their way to a far-off planet that was meant to save humanity, and they really have no idea what they're doing. They are also harangued constantly by the ship's captain in holographic form, and this captain is also Cleo's hero and crush. A lot of mysteries are unfolded throughout their journey, and Cleo and her very diverse cast of friends just have great banter and adventures. Obviously, they have a lot of things to figure out, like how to eat and how not to die. This book is just really fun and I really love it, and I definitely think you should read it.
They all had such great recommendations, so let me share with you some books that I enjoyed with a main character who falls on the LGBT plus rainbow. First up, I am going to recommend Where the Dark Stands Still by A.B. Pornick. This has a bisexual main male character. His name is Leshe, and he is known as the demon of this dark forest. And in this, our main female character goes into this forest to make a deal to try and suck the magic out of her when she gets captured by Leshe. And he says that he will give her what she needs to get rid of her magic that is taking over her life if she spends an entire year with him. They get to know each other, she discovers some of his secrets, and they form a relationship. But in the process, she learns that every single person that the Leshe has made this deal with has died, including one of his past lovers. I absolutely loved this book. It had such immaculate atmosphere. It gives Beauty and the Beast vibes a little bit, but it is also based in Polish mythology, which I found really fascinating. So if you are looking for a dark fairy tale-esque fantasy, this is YA, but it leans more toward the older YA end of the spectrum. I think you would really enjoy this. My next recommendation is actually a sequel, and that is The Demons in the Deep by Rebecca F. Kinney. So this is the second book. The first book is The Teeth and the Tides. And in this book, we follow a female main character who is demisexual. Her name is Mai, and she grew up on this very isolated island that was surrounded by these killer mermaids. And in this book, we see her form a friendship and romance with Rake, who was the mermaid from the first book. I absolutely loved this duology because the romance in it was so unique. It was unlike anything I had read before. When you read the first book, you're expecting the romance that you would traditionally get in a fantasy romance, but it takes a turn and you don't get that. And instead you get it in the second book. And it's a very sweet, slow-moving progression because, like I said, Mai is demisexual, so she really has to build that connection with somebody. It was one of my favorite books from last year. And my final recommendation is one that is probably going to make my best books of the year so far because I just really enjoyed this book. It was so unique. Absolutely loved it. And that is Someone You Could Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. And in this, we follow our female main character, Shishien, who is this monstrous shape-shifting creature who is asexual lesbian. Let's say that, because she does form this very beautiful romance with this woman who takes her in and really helps her and nurses her back to health, but she also doesn't have those really sexual desires that everybody else around her seems to have. So this is an adult fantasy romance, but it is unlike any fantasy romance you will ever read, I promise you. As I mentioned, Shishien is this blob. She lives in the basement of this decrepit, run-down mansion, and she's just trying to survive. She minded her own business when these monster hunters come in and try to attack her, so she has to construct a body out of the things around her. A chain for a backbone, a bear trap for a mouth, bones from the victims laying around her, hair from the scalped heads that are around her. It's very gruesome. But once she constructs this very human-esque body, she ends up being injured, and in comes Homily, who is a human, who is trying to find this monster that has cursed her family. Unbeknownst to her, Shishien is that monster. But she doesn't know that because Shishien gives off this very human-esque form. And so Shishien is trying to hide the secret that she is this monster while still trying to maintain her constructed human form, because if she doesn't continue to maintain it by taking in things, she will pretty much fall apart. So she's doing this while she's also falling in love with Homily, because Homily is such a sweet soul. And in the midst of this, we get Homily's family drama and how they are trying to kill this monster and how they've treated Homily. And it's just such a beautiful love story that's also kind of dark and gruesome. So those are some recommendations for you for Pride Month, featuring books with main characters that fall on the LGBT plus rainbow. Let me know down in the comments what is your favorite book that features an LGBT plus main character. But if you don't want to comment that but would like to let me know that you made it to the end of this video, could you leave me a rainbow emoji, please? And with that, thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, go read you a book with some LGBT plus rep in it. Bye!